So, after Jennifer Aniston's bitch ass.
This is Bitch I Ain't Scared, the horror podcast.
Welcome back, bitches. It's me, Nate the Fool. And I'm with...
Rob the Scholar.
Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm good. I think we had a really good first episode.
I think so. Just having fun. Not gonna, give anyone brain surgery or cure cancer. But, we're having a ball, so... Keep coming back and having fun with us.
Yeah, if you survived episode 1 and are back again for more, thank you. I mean, that's a compliment. I appreciate it. You like what you heard.
I'm not going to be passing out $10 bills to anybody for listening, but, I appreciate you. Funny little story. Today, someone who wishes to remain anonymous, I guess, but they're hoping we, kick them some cash from our $0 budget. They said something funny, and I thought I'd pass it along. They said, so, Scream Queens are like divas in the horror genre? And I was like, yeah, opera divas. It's like, yeah, it's a good way of looking at it. They're, important. They're they've done lots of work in the horror film world.
Now, were they talking about the actresses or divas or the characters or divas?
The actresses. The actresses
okay.
who, have racked up a certain amount of work, and we recognize them for multiple characters, multiple films, and that's sort of like opera divas. Back in the day, it's like you would go see this soprano because it's like, oh, she played in Carmen, and we loved her, and she's amazing. I love it when she hits that high note and dies. So I just thought it was funny. But again, no cash for you.
Well, I thought it would be fun to do something at the beginning or maybe even the middle of our episodes. Over the summer last year, during heavy quarantine, Nate and I simultaneously around the same time was having a little fun with our friends over Instagram. And with our Instagram stories, we posted trivia questions.
Yeah.
We got our friends to chime in and play, give their answers, and we actually kept score and for me, I did teams, and we made it this big thing. And so we decided that with each episode, we're going to give the listeners a trivia question, also each other a trivia question to answer, and then I will be posting it simultaneously on Instagram. And if you are present during the recording and know the answer, even if you look it up,
Yeah, because also we're not going to know, if you look it up. We're not psychic.
Yeah, but reply. Reply with the answer, and if you're correct, we'll give you a shout out on the show. And so, yeah, just look out for our Instagram stories. We're at FearBIAS. We'll be asking a question each time. And so today's question, Nate, this is for you. What is the relationship between Ginger and Bridget in Ginger Snaps from 2000? Now, Nate, I can tell, knows this answer. But what we're going to do is return back to it at the end of the episode, and Nate will give us his answer.
Oh, I have an answer for you.
All right, so today we have a very jam-packed episode. Basically, this is a free-for-all conversation. You'll be hearing a variety of horror-like topics and just whatever it is that we want to talk about. Most of it you may find very useless information, but we're going to have fun, and it'll be all about horror. So let's begin.
I just heard a few tidbits of things, from the grapevine, and it's probably old news to everyone else because I feel like people see this shit at 3 a.m. and they're like, oh, tweeting about it, and then I get it 3 days later, and I'm like, did you hear? Yes, I did. Well, fuck you, okay? I'm still excited. But anyway, Stephen Ewan, and I feel like I always mispronounce his last name, but anyway, you know him from The Walking Dead. We love him. He's nominated for an Academy Award for Minari, which was a very sweet film.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah. But he's hoping to be in that next Monkey Paw production. We have no idea what it's called, but I love this idea. So whether it's just a rumor, it's just him saying like, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." I really hope it comes to be. I think it would be great for him and great for me because I'm a super fan.
I'm very much a super fan, and if anybody is unaware, Monkey Paw Productions is a movie company started and founded by Jordan Peele.
Whoop, whoop.
We're going to see Stephen Ewan in another horror-like movie. This is not his first go-around, like Nate said. He has been in The Walking Dead, but I do want to point out that he starred in the horror comedy Mayhem, which also starred Homegirl from Ready or Not.
Oh, Samara Weaving, which
Samara
also
Weaving, yes.
this morning, that's what prompted the. Oh, so our Scream Queen's like divas, because I was saying, oh yeah, Samara Weaving, she's like a modern day Scream Queen at this point. She's racked up a few different credits, besides the babysitter movies.
Yeah.
She's also in Ready or Not. She's in Mayhem. So I was like, yeah, she's doing her thing.
Mayhem is great, and I love Steven in this movie. He kills it, and I want to see him more in horror, so I welcome him too. Don't know what his involvement is, but yeah, I'm excited to know more, so yay on that news for sure.
And also, last week, I think I heard this, so it's really old news now. It's like if you haven't heard it in the 24 hours it came out, forget about it. But I'm still sad. The Trench, which was supposed to be a spin-off of Aquaman, and I can't even remember the name of the people, the tribe of people who were like really creepy looking fish with sharp teeth. They were going to make a whole movie about them. And Warner Brothers said, "Nope, we're not going to do it. Aquaman 2 is enough for all of you lazy bitches." So I'm really sad. I don't know why Warner Brothers and DC don't want to like do stuff, but it's cool.
So what was it that you liked about those creatures when you saw that specific part of the film?
They were scary. Look, it was just sort of a surprise. Aquaman, they had a little more fun with it. And I just didn't expect it. It was brief sequence, kind of, but yeah, I didn't know that. And I don't know a lot about Aquaman's world either. The idea of a whole movie with these people, it would be fun.
Would you have preferred them to be dealing with the folks down at Atlantis, or would you have them go against human protagonists?
I don't know. I think it probably would have been a little scarier with humans because it's like the Atlanteans, they know about them, and they probably don't even really fool with them. They're like, yeah, we don't go to the trench. I don't know. It just sounded like a good time. James Wan was going to be involved, and we're going to get like more of like Annabelle and Conjuring, but with fish people that eat people.
Yeah.
Great.
I would have just loved it for the idea of mixing horror with the comic book genre. Some
Yeah.
people don't believe in that type of mix, and we'll see what Doctor Strange brings to the table. We did get a little bit of tidbit with the New Mutants, but and here's the thing, even though New Mutants wasn't really that good of a movie, I wasn't like torn away with it being scary. Like, it didn't seem hokey or fake or out of place. Like, I feel that horror genre does belong in the comic book genre as well. So that aspect of it was not a bad thing. It's just the movie wasn't good. But it had nothing to do with the fact that they tried to do a horror genre movie.
I enjoyed New Mutants, at least for what it was, and it's one of those movies that I think probably suffered from reshoot, and people like, no, I don't like this, change it. So who knows what it would have been like originally, but I still liked it. I think I probably just enjoyed the idea of this being like a mutant X-Men movie, but with the horror elements. And my hat is off to people who try different things. So
Exactly.
that was my hope behind the trench. It's like, yeah, it's from a comic book that isn't necessarily horror, but it's like it's not too far off. It's sci-fi, fantasy. They're like cousins of one another, and anything underwater is scary anyway. So it's like when I watch Aquaman, I'm like, ugh, is there gonna be a shark? Is he gonna like punch a shark? Like anytime a shark comes out of nowhere, that just ruins my whole day.
Well, that will definitely be a subject, I'm sure, in a future episode, is the aquatic horror. of the genre. I don't know if I have a big library that I can pull from that I've seen, but it is a genre in itself. And you know me, if it isn't Deep Blue Sea, you can go screw himself, because I just get out of the water. Done. Movie over. So again, I need a bit more, exposure. It brings into that whole bias thing that we talked about in the last episode, but that's my thing. Just stay out of the fucking water and it's over.
I mean, you would think after 1975 people wouldn't want to get in the water. I mean,
I
Jaws was enough, but
Yeah, so yeah. But again, another episode. I again would love for the horror genre to be mixed into the comic book sort of thing, and we need a good successful example of that to get more of it. So hopefully we do get it soon. I am also saddened by the trench being canned. So James Wan's resourceful. I will see him again. I'm not even worried about that man. Just leaves him room to do something even better.
yeah.
So Nate, I, have a Shutter account. And ever so often, if when I remember that I actually have the app, I'll go in and I'll, try and check something out that I've, put on my list and what other people recommend. Now, I came across this movie that people have been talking about on Twitter and Instagram for a while. And at first, there was this actual article that just talked about this old school 80s horror movie that by word of mouth is now starting to become a cult classic. I had never heard of this movie in my life, but everybody is starting to talk about it like, you need to watch this movie. It is really good. And I was like, whatever. Okay, fine. And the title of it is weird. It's just such I mean, it's nothing bad, but it's just like, okay, I don't get it. But it's called Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
sounds
and I
like
was like,
a nursery rhyme.
yeah. So I was like, okay, whatever. Didn't think too much about it until I go on Instagram, and I follow a couple of horror artists who like to post their work of like old school characters and things like that. And already within days of even learning about this movie, there's already artwork done from it. And I'm like, oh, this movie really must have left an impression when somebody wants to develop artwork from it. So I've got to see what this is all about. So I devoted a night to watch this movie. So the synopsis for this movie is that a kid named Billy soon becomes an orphan and is raised by his aunt Cheryl, who raises him as her own son. Basically, this woman wants to do everything that she can to make sure that Billy never leaves her, even when he's about to talk about college and getting out of the house. And she is going to do everything she can to make sure that he stays. This basically leads into an insane frenzy of death, a lot of murder, and a lot of secrets that have been buried deep between this relationship between this aunt and this nephew. I think that this movie should definitely be seen. It was really good. It was really good. It's directed by William Asher. I found this film to be really excellent. There was actual terror in this, in my opinion, and the subjects, the topics in the subject that kind of came about in this movie. They talked about mental illness. They talked about loneliness, curiosity. I mean, Billy is, kind of sheltered in this movie, and so he's discovering a lot of things as well. And then we learn a little bit about the aunt. They throw in a heavy homophobia storyline in this,
Excellent.
and how homophobia was treated in the 80s. It's a little different than what you would see today, even though it's sort of the same, story. It was very apparent in this movie. It's so, I didn't expect the gay stuff that was going on in here, but yeah, there's that, and I thought it elevated the story really well. I also liked the movie because it was different. It's not something that you see every day, especially in the 80s. They really concentrated on character development rather than the kills that you get. But the kills are great. I think they show enough blood and gore that you would expect from the 80s. There was a few weird written decisions from the characters to get themselves sort of in trouble but overall, I think all the characters are very likable. Definitely some creepy and horrific shots that will make you jump. I just find this film to be a gem. I really enjoyed this movie. There are parts that definitely stand out, and you're just like, what the hell? But it also starts right in the beginning. You think that log truck from FD2 was some shit. Wait until you see the death at the beginning of this movie. It is epic. It is so good. Some people may find this film to be a little dated, of course, but I think the subject matter is definitely something present that can still be used and talked about today. And combined with the creepy score that was attached to this film, I found it great. Also, a very young Bill Paxton shows up.
Young Bill Paxton. So this was before Weird Science?
Yes, and ironically, there's another star in this movie that was also from Weird Science. So we got 2 Weird Science alums from this movie, but yeah, the bigger one that stands out is Bill Paxton was in this out of nowhere.
Who's the other one?
I don't know the actor's name, but he played Gary's father, the one who got amnesia. And he was like, who's this Billy character? Or Gary character?
I kind of remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, he's in it too. He plays a cop. So yeah, I find this movie to be worth it. If you have Shudder, check it out. It's called Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. It also had an alternative title called Night Terrors. I don't know why it was called that, but yeah, I gave this movie 4 out of 5 as far as my entertainment scale. So I find it worthy. Everybody should check it out.
Look at you. Look at you. Well, 2 things. 1, don't be like Rob, everybody. If you have a Shudder account, use it, because apparently Rob got money and he's just like, fuck it.
I have a lot of streaming accounts, and it's not like I have to be in the mood for horror. I just don't want to oversaturate myself with it. There was a time I did 3 movies in a row, and by the 3rd movie, I was actually genuinely terrified for the rest of the night. It was a little too much, so I had to kind of like take a break.
Yes. All right. So also,
but you're right. I should use it more.
After you watch a horror movie, everyone, maybe watch a little short cartoon or something, just to like level yourself out before bed. But 2, also, just name the mechanism behind this, like, the log truck. So what is it? What is it in this movie that would freak people out?
Well, it is a car accident, and something does go through another head.
Oh god.
Right. But it doesn't stop after that. It doesn't, and it's only this one car. FD2 was a whole entire highway with multiple deaths. This was just one car, and the shit that this one car went through. Ooh,
right through his eye.
It was. Oh, it's so good.
All right. Well, okay. I try and check it. I don't have no Shudder account though, so we'll see what I can pull out of my sleeve or whatever people pull things out of. Well, thank you for that. And, everyone, like, broaden your horizons a little bit. I know a lot of people are like, I don't watch old movies, but it's like, come on. Like,
you'd be surprised, man. I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole and watched a couple of 70s horror films, and I actually found them all to be great. And it wasn't really so big about the jump scares either. There was really a heavy story involved with it, and just how real people can just be that psycho and crazy and just go out and do shit like this, So I found all of that to be fascinating.
I mean, I can name a movie from each decade where people are like, oh, I love that movie. It's like, okay, well, then you might like other movies from the decade. If you enjoyed The Exorcist, it came out in the 70s.
There you go.
Early 70s,
Yeah.
Psycho came out in the 60s. So there's other movies from other decades. Don't be a snob, even though I am a snob sometimes. Definitely. I don't care. Speaking of being a snob, I do like to try different things here and there. I don't just watch movies. I am a well-rounded human being, sort of. I've been reading a lot of books lately, and I've been trying to read different genres. Of course, I will read things that are in the horror genre, and I have been going back and forth, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to read this book. I got a gift card for my birthday, so I bought this $5 book on Amazon, and it's called Stalked by Shadows. It's a really long, subtitle, but Stalked by Shadows. A simply crafty gay romance suspense. And I was like, okay, girl, I don't know why you gave me this long ass thing. But anyway, it's about this Afghanistan war vet who comes back to America, and he witnessed something traumatic in the desert. something that can't be explained, and it's awful, and now he's traumatized. And he spent a little time in a mental institution. Finally, he's released to his twin brother, and his twin brother's like, hey, set you up with this job working at this bookstore for this guy. Also, he is an ex-porn star that you are a big fan of, so don't freak out. And it's set in New Orleans. The main character, his name is Alex, and he starts working for this guy at this bookshop named Micah. And he gives tours in the French Quarter and in cemeteries and stuff like that. Of course, first night out, they don't even give the tour yet. Some bullshit happens in the cemetery and someone dies. So now it's like, what's happening? There's like this weird shadowy thing like following them around. And he finds out that Micah is also haunted by this weird shadowy thing. So we'll see where this goes. I'm still reading it currently. I have not finished the book.
Oh,
But
okay, gotcha.
I'm reading it because it's a gay supernatural romance.
Of course. So how is the sort of gay characters developed and I'm assuming a romance between Alex and Micah? Like how is that developing? I mean, not spoilers, but do you
Yeah.
think that this was written by a gay person or did they just throw in a bunch of tropes and be like, "Oh, that's gay. Ooh, look at that. He's hot. Let's have him fuck."
I would I would say it is written respectfully. It is not written by a gay man.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this person is LGBT or not. I tried to find more information on the person. Their name is Lissa K.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. Now, based on the other books that this person has written, I just can't tell. It seems like the other books are more like, yeah, fantasy, romance, but they're not about gay characters. So I'm like, oh, are these just like the two books and she just, or they wanted to write something. But it is respectful. There's a trans character, one of the supporting characters. Both of the twins are like LGBT. The main character is gay. He describes himself as being gay. And his brother is a cop who is kind of like pansexual. He's like, I like everybody. Another interesting tidbit, the main character and his brother are biracial. So one of their parents is black, one of their parents is white, but they are white passing. And the way they're described in the book is fine. My problem is that the cover art features this character who has like long blondish hair, and he doesn't look like he's biracial at all.
Okay.
Granted, there are people in the world, absolutely, who are biracial, and it's like they don't look like they have parents of two different ethnic backgrounds. I feel like they could have probably found a better cover model for this book.
Gotcha.
And also, even Micah, the secondary main character, is also a biracial character. One parent is Japanese, his other parent is Irish, but he presents more as being Japanese. However, he's described as having these beautiful, bright blue eyes. It's like, yes, it's great. There are people in the world who are like this, but I don't know. I feel like whiteness is being
Did he have to have the blue eyes? Yeah.
yeah. It's like couldn't he have green eyes or purple eyes? Something
Yeah. No,
like
I
why?
understand. I understand.
It's the same thing like with Storm from the comic books. Love Storm. Why she gotta have blue eyes? Or can't she have like color changing eyes? Like she's in a bad mood, she has gray eyes, or she's calm. She's a calm Storm today, so she has purple eyes. It's like why she gotta have blue eyes? Whatever. I am enjoying the book. I think that the buildup of the love sexual relationship is being written good enough for me. The sex is described, or the sexual attraction is described like early on. He's like, yeah, I'm definitely attracted to this man.
Okay.
But they don't have sex on page 10.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they actually developed something before getting
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do more of the supernatural storyline. So I appreciate that. So I'll let you know how it goes. But, it's a fun read. I just needed some sort of like gay supernatural thing. Came across this and I was like, why not?
No, I think that's cool. One thing that I do want to ask you about this, because I'm not a big reader.
Hmm.
So when you are reading a book, especially a horror novel, do you genuinely get scared? Like, is there a jolt of fear? Do you look around and be like, "Oh my god, I read this book. I have to sleep with the lights on." Like, does your imagination really click into what it is that you're reading that develops fear? I don't know how all that works.
I would say, for me anyway, at the end of the story, it might have a lasting impact. It's not. It doesn't usually happen while I'm reading the book. I've read some thrillers recently where I was like, I did have a physical reaction where I was like, oh,
That's so interesting. I'm
I
not saying
can't
it's not
believe it.
possible, but
Yeah,
it's very interesting that you can dive deep into a written story and still have that jolt of like, because you're reading at your own pace, and it's like
yeah,
I'm a slow enough reader, like I can't keep myself into the world because I'm trying to figure out what a word means, and then I got to go back
yeah,
into the imagination, and then the moments pass. It's like, well, I tried to scare you, but you need to look up what this four
mhm,
syllable word is, so it doesn't
yeah,
work. So I no, I think that's awesome. I've never experienced that. Now, there was a time I did read a gay novel. It wasn't a horror one, but I did read a gay novel once, and there was some shadiness going on. And it was like one of those twists, like, oh, somebody was secretly talking to somebody, or maybe they called one person another name. And, even on TV, I'll be like, oh, no, he didn't, like little stuff like that, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was on the bus once and I'm reading this gay novel and I was so into it. I love these two characters. I was like, I want them to be together so bad. And I'm reading, and then there was some drama that happened. And I was on the bus, I was like, oh, and then like I looked around and I was like, damn, this book is like making me react.
Oh
So I
man.
get it, but I just don't see myself doing that out of fear, so I find it interesting that you were able to do that.
Yeah, it depends. I don't know. It has to be something that definitely scares me a lot. And I think a lot of horror novels that I read are probably more fun because whatever the creature is or the person is, it's like they don't scare me. Demons scare me. I'm probably not going to read a book about demonic possession because demonic movies scare me enough. So reading a book, I think, would probably put ideas in my head where I'm like, what's that?
Tell everyone the name of the book again.
Stalked by Shadows
S-
by Lissa Kay.
All right, yeah. So I wonder if anybody else has read this. So would you recommend this? Would you say so far? Do you think that this is more for the gay audience, or do you think anybody who likes horror might be open to this type of story that's being told supernatural wise?
I think you have to have an open mind because most people I know are like, oh, gay? Oh, no, I can't read that. I just read a romantic comedy about two straights, okay? They were fucking. So, come on. And I liked it. I thought it was a great book. I thought it was funny. I thought it was cutesy. And the way the sex was described was titillating. The same thing for this book. I think that, I don't usually read trashy romance novels where it's like, he removed her corset and her breasts bulged out. I don't know. And it's like, I don't need sex like every 5 pages. That's not exactly what I want. I kind of want a story. I did, and I read a gay trashy romance novel once where I was like, I don't want this. No, I guess I need some kind of story. It's the opposite of porn. But yeah, I would recommend it if you have an open mind and you can get behind two people with penises wanting to have sex.
All right. Yeah. I remember what it was from some show. I can't remember, but there was a quote that said something like, I don't read books. Basically, they're just spoilers to movies. I was dying. But that's kind of where I lie with books. I just don't like if somebody says, "Oh my god, this movie is based on a book." I'm not going to read the book first. I would rather read the book after because I don't want the movie spoiled. I get more of the enjoyment from the movie, so I'd rather watch that as the first go. So,
I got it. I mean, I think whenever I read a book first and then watch the movie, it's not necessarily a spoiler. I mean, it is. It's like I know what's going to happen pretty much, but I'll end up liking the book and hating the movie, or I just don't like the movie that much because I'm
mhm.
like, they changed stuff, or that's not how I imagined it would be. If I watch the movie first, same thing. I don't like the book. It's like then I'm like, oh, this takes too long. These characters are boring. I don't like the inner monologue. I don't know.
So, Nate, I actually got a request already on a topic that they wanted us to explore on the show. So, a friend of mine wrote me and was like, can you talk about the whole Friday the 13th movie legal drama crap that's going on? I thought it would be interesting to talk about this with you and sort of get your opinion about it. Now, I know you're not really down for another sequel or an installment of this series anyway, so you may be biased over this subject, but when you hear this story, just kind of give your opinion based on what you hear. So, I'm sure a lot of you are a bit familiar with this legal drama, but if you notice, we haven't had a Friday the 13th movie in forever.
Thank
It's been
God.
whatever. It has been a very, very long time. And from what I read, it doesn't look like we're going to get one anytime soon. But it is legal. There is a legal battle that is keeping this franchise from continuing. But we still have a lot of horror fans who want to see more of these movies. Jason Voorhees has not died literally on us just yet. Basically, the drama goes down from what I gathered like this. Before the first original film release, Paramount Pictures owned the rights to Friday the 13th, right?
Right.
Then they gave the property to New Line Cinema.
Yes.
So the rights are now in the hands of the original film producer and director of the original, and who is with Horror Inc. His name is Shawn Cunningham, right?
Yes.
Victor Miller, he's the one who actually wrote the movie. He did not direct it, but he wrote it. He wrote the original. Basically, there is this copyright law that was spawned somewhere around 1976 to where you can have the rights to the script back. The copyright law in the U.S. states 35 years after the copyright is sold, that person who sold it has the option to terminate the sale and revert the copyright back to the original person. So after 35 years, Victor's like, I want my movie back, right?
Oh.
I want the rights. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's a money thing or if they have ideas and they want to do something different, whatever the case. But he's like, I want to own it again, right?
Yeah.
Cunningham is the current owner, the director producer. He goes to court and says he was an employee of us at the time when he wrote this script. Therefore, he does not own the copyright. And so if he can't use the copyright law to get it back. So Miller says that he was an independent contractor who was hired and wrote the film for hire, means that he does own it and he sold it to them, which means that this copyright law is in his favor and he could ask for it back. So it's just a matter of, was he an employee or an independent contractor, right?
Yeah.
So then Victor actually won the first case. He won against Shawn Cunningham, but Shawn Cunningham is now appealing the rule, which is why it's been dragged on for so long, right? Basically, Victor Miller is fighting only for part one. He's not claiming anything about the sequels or even the remake or anything. It's just about part one.
Okay.
But when you do that, it comes with a lot of lore and canon that's up in the air. So if Cunningham actually wins, all belongs to him, and he can continue the franchise and not make any changes to the backstory, right? If Miller continues and he wins and beats the appeal and he continues to own part one, what I assume is that he can start the franchise over, but he cannot use any of the sequels as lore or canon, even the hockey mask. Because remember, the hockey mask didn't come in until part three. And we are only to assume that by theory, was Jason really a zombie kid that came up and grabbed homegirl Alice in the beginning, or was that a dream? So we don't even know if there is a Jason at all after the first one. But he would basically have to start again from the first, right? He can also work with Cunningham and cut a deal if he were to win and split up the rights, kind of like how Spider-Man is doing with Marvel and Sony.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can kind of do their own thing with the character if they choose to, or come with a better deal for Miller to feel comfortable not owning 100% of the rights. So he would own Pamela Voorhees, he would own Crystal Lake, and the possibility of, like I said, the dream, if it was a dream or if it was real at the end. That's if Miller took the first one and just, left. So that's basically all the legal stuff that is dragging this movie down. And what also sucks about all of this is that as we're waiting for a decision for the appeal, it comes from three people and three judges. And what happens is that one judge will write up sort of the decision that they make, and then the other two will either agree or disagree with it, which will account for the whole Dewey in favor of the plaintiff or defendant, right? The guy who was writing the decision, he passed away.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
I
sorry.
know, no, I mean, no, but I get, I mean, just like what luck? I mean, like to drag it even longer. So now we're at a
Mm,
point of like, who's going to draft up this new decision? You know, do we have to start all over? And then Cunningham is also thinking about bringing it to the Supreme Court. Like it's that serious. But
yeah,
this is the other thing is that based on COVID, when you want to have cases go through the courts, this is not a very high priority case to put on the books, you know, because you want to keep all of that traffic limited. And, you know, no, they probably are just like, we ain't worried about Jason. You know, we got to use this courthouse for real shit, you know?
yeah.
So this is why we haven't really heard anything. This could go on for a lot longer. Based on some of the lawyers that have been posting on Twitter about some of this stuff, don't hold your breath, right? But my thing to you, Nate, is given whoever wins this battle and how Jason is sort of used again in any capacity, do we want to see a new Jason franchise start all the way over from part one? Or do we want Cunningham to win and or do we want Miller to win and work with Cunningham to split the copyright so nothing much changes and we get more movies? What do you think if you had to pick out of the two?
Gosh, I don't get a third option.
I'll give you a third option. I just want
No,
you to
no,
pick from those two first.
just being a little asshole. Bottom line for me, I do not want them to start over. I don't need it in my life. They're not the end of the world and they're not all terrible, but it does get a little confusing, very convoluted when we have three different like directions we're going now and it's like none of them have to connect, none of them have to make sense anymore. But it really is starting to not make sense. I guess that's the problem is that they want it all to connect. They all connect. They are all part of the same storyline. I don't want to start from scratch. I
Okay,
don't.
so you prefer just one or, you know, like a few changes, but nothing, you know, starting over again. You know, you just, if you're going to see one, you rather just see it go from where it's at right now.
Ugh, if I'm going to see one.
If you're going to see one.
No disrespect to Mr. Miller. Also, fun fact, Rob, you just introduced a way to kill me if Ghostface was asking me a trivia question. Who wrote the original screenplay for Friday the 13th? I'd be dead as fuck. No idea. In my heart, I think it's fair that Victor Miller gets the rights back. I just don't want to see a whole bunch of new bullshit. I don't need it. Okay?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good. Like, I don't know, man. We have like three separate trilogies from the original lineup of the movies. That stuff's hard to follow. like we're getting into like Michael Myers territory now.
So here's some other scenarios that I had thought of given sort of where this copyright lies. Let's say we get another movie to come up under Cunningham, but he doesn't have the rights to the first one, meaning
Mm,
he will have to make a Jason film with absolutely no backstory whatsoever.
hmm
He cannot use Crystal Lake. He cannot use Pamela as his
uh
origin for, you know, wanting to kill people. Yeah, he would basically be an unknown entity, some zombie looking creature that just basically goes around killing people for no reason. Just think of it like his character from like Mortal Kombat. You know how he's in the game. They don't really give him a huge backstory in the Mortal Kombat game. He's just a character that exists and wants to kill, right? What do you think about that type of scenario?
Maybe they can take him back to Manhattan.
Right? Well, the other thing is too is that yeah, he would just be this undead person just killing people. I think there's a little bit of growth coming there, but you have to understand that a lot of this popularity comes from the idea that he's so iconic from the story that was given to him back in the 80s. So it's like, how do you start over with that? Like, is it even worth it? Do you think that people would still follow along with Jason's story just from the look, the way he kills? Is that enough to take it further? Or is that first origin story and the Camp Crystal Lake that embedded that you can't move on without it?
For a long time, people sort of overlooked his mother, Pamela Voorhees. I think a lot of people are now just attached to the idea and the imagery of Jason wearing a hockey mask. I think there are diehards who love Jason no matter what. They know that he's just going to kill people indiscriminately. There's no buildup. There's no need. It's violence and gore, a machete, and there's really nothing there anymore. It's like now that we're what, 9, 10 sequels in, 11. Look, I can't do this. Okay, it's math. People just want to see Jason in a hockey mask killing people. They don't care. I mean, probably the more creative they can get, the better. But a lot of people, I don't think, care about his mother anymore, which is sad to say, because that was probably not probably that is the most unique film out of the series.
I think he's moved out of the house by now and is okay to kind of do his own thing. Like he's going to kill for himself and not for his mother. I think it's safe to say he got out of the basement and it was just like, I love you, Ma. I'm just moving on right now. I'm doing my own thing. I figured that they would do a Jumanji turn and just have that fucker come out of that video game that's on PS4 right now and start killing bitches or be injected into the video game because that video game's killing it right now. But there's also a bunch of legal drama going on with that as well, because of its, destination and everything.
Well, you bring up a very interesting point. There's all sorts of like crossover things nowadays that are probably more fun for audiences to watch. Even like he popped up in what was it, Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe something like that is a better option for us to if people just want Jason, and I really don't know because I'm not diehard fan of Friday the 13th or anything like that. But if people want to see Jason, and I think they do, I think that would be better. I think that would be throwing him into something kind of unexpectedly.
Yeah. I'm definitely open to another Jason film. I thought the remake was fun to watch. I didn't pretty much like the human protagonist characters that well, but
But you're never supposed to.
yeah, and so I mean, and also they changed the script as to who lived at the end. I thought that was a bit clever because it was different.
Oh yeah.
Predictable, not at all. Because I'm sorry, those pearls were grabbed when that shit went down with Miss Panabaker. Never
Yeah,
in my life.
that
I
was a
mean, that
surprise.
poor girl. Jesus, never.
No, I actually liked that remake. For say what you want, people, I do not care. But I liked it. I felt that it was a nice homage to the series, and them sort of poking fun at certain things, but also trying to like bring all the various story elements of him coming back from the dead constantly. I think it was a nice little like love note.
You make the two POCs be the stoners who died
Okay,
the
that
most
is not great.
disrespectful way
No,
ever throughout.
no.
Like everybody else got justice. Those two were killed in a very embarrassing way.
Did
I mean, they were.
everybody get justice?
I
don't
mean, they
know.
were besties, and they definitely had loyalty to each other. I totally get that. But did they have to be the stoners?
I mean, you know, they still got the girls like with their titties out for no reason, dying naked. No real character development for them.
That's
Um,
true.
but yes, you make a good point. Yes, they made what was his name? Little
There's
Ronnie,
it was Aaron Rue and
Aaron.
I
Yeah,
forget the other guy's name.
yeah. Poor Aaron. I mean, he he didn't deserve that. It was pretty violent. It went on for a long time. Arlen Escarpeta. In Friday the 13th, there's like 20 characters. You know that 17 of them are going to die, and it's not going to matter what their character was before that. They don't care. And then even like the last ones that we get, it's like, oh, these are the main characters. It was only different with this one because we knew Mr. Padalecki had a whole TV show, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's famous. We know he's gonna be around. If they had killed him like halfway through the movie, that would have been a big surprise. But they didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens, and if we hear any more about it, we'll definitely bring it up. But I wanted to get your opinion about sort of how a good Jason movie can continue without losing its audience, because it doesn't seem like any change might do well box office wise. So we just have to wait for this legal stuff to pan out before we see any likeness of him being on screen again.
I say best wishes, warmest regards, and
just be done with it. All right, Nate, moment of truth. The trivia question that was announced at the beginning of the episode, I will repeat it again for you. What is the relationship between Ginger and Bridget in Ginger Snaps from 2000?
They are sisters.
That is correct. Sisters. Such a great movie.
Love it. It's probably the best werewolf movie I've ever seen. Probably.
It's pretty good.
Top 3, yeah.
It is, yeah. It's definitely top. It's definitely top. And the other thing is that it still works today. I think it would still work today, especially from a female protagonist point of view. Just having them be the leads like that, it definitely works. All right, well, good for you. You got that one. I actually knew that answer too. So if you guys knew the answer, awesome. And on our next episode, we'll definitely announce another question throughout the episode.
Yeah, next time, you can ask who wrote Friday the 13th, and I'll totally bomb that. I already forgot the name.
Victor Miller.
No, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Well, it's that time again for us to do a bitch really, and it's my turn. So, for those of you who don't know, bitch really is just a moment when you're watching a horror film or a TV show, and you can't believe that something is actually coming across the screen. You can't believe a decision was made, whether it's by a character or hell, whether it was by the writing team. They made a decision, and you are physically and verbally offended. I did something a little not in my character this weekend, and I said, fuck it. I'm gonna watch Leprechaun.
What were you doing? I know, first of all, I know you watched this from Netflix. So with the amount of choices that are on there, you were like, it was that poster, wasn't it? It was the poster.
That horrible Photoshop poster.
That's why you watched it, didn't you?
Kinda. It was like the green lured me in.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just feeling myself because I was like, look at this fried chicken I just made. And I'm gonna have a beer. I'm feeling good. And you know what? Nothing can stop me right now. So I was just curious. I wanted to know, is this movie... I know it's not great, but I was like... I remember watching it when I was a little kid and being scared. It was so easy to scare when I was a kid. I don't know what my problem was.
This is no shade to Leprechaun. This show does not promote the idea of Leprechaun being an evil, fucking gross, dumb movie. This movie's actually good. I know. I know you have a different opinion. I still return to this movie quite a bit. And I just reviewed another film with one of the Leprechaun stars in it. And I was like, oh, look at him. He's from, summer school. Oh, he's from April Fools.
The main guy?
Not the main guy.
The love interest.
The painter. Yeah, he's in summer school. And then he was also in April Fool's Day, I think. And I was like, oh, okay. I get it.
Also, funny side story. I remember being really attracted to him when I was little and I watched the movie. Now, I don't know.
Nope, I'm still feeling it. The man has a smile for days.
He has nice arms, but I was like, I don't know. I'm not
digging
quite doing it for me now. No disrespect. I was just like, I don't know. I must have been attracted to people when I was a wee lad. But anyway.
Yeah, I can only imagine what moment out of that entire 90-minute movie that you chose for this bitch really.
Oh, I won't even lie. I fast-forwarded through the second half because I was like, I can't do this. I just need to get it out of my queue. So, it's pretty early on. This is so... I remember this moment, too, and I was like, why is this happening? So, after Jennifer Aniston's bitch ass is, kind of flirting with the painter, and I don't know. It's like she's into him, but I'm not believing her that she is. She's helping him paint, even though the little boy just gave this disclaimer to the dad, we can't let people handle our equipment due to liability insurance. So why the fuck are you letting her touch shit? Anyway, neither here nor there. She walks over to the truck to get more paint. Broad daylight.
I know this moment. I know this moment. Go ahead.
The leprechaun... It's so ridiculous.
It is.
Y'all know what happened. The leprechaun is underneath the truck. And he's such a little dirty thing. He's starts groping her leg. She just turned around from the painter and she thinks he's under the truck. She thinks that his big ass got under the pickup truck to feel her up. And she's like, Greg, or whatever his name is, Gary, I don't know. And she's just like letting him touch her. But then she turns around and she sees him. She doesn't jump away. She's like, oh. Looks down and is like, oh. And then she jumps away and screams. And he like claws the fuck out of her. Bitch, really? Are you like this desperate out in the boonies of North Dakota that you. Stop it.
She is low-key the kinkiest woman ever. I mean, for her to get aroused by some creepy-ass shit like that, even if I was into you, you do not need to go
Right.
under a truck and caress my leg the way he did
Right.
to get my attention. This is broad daylight. My dad can walk in at any moment. His little brother could have walked around any moment, but she was still feeling it. Who knows how long she would have stayed at that truck and let him do that? Like,
If he
what
had
was
just,
her timeline?
like, he went inside and was like washing his paintbrushes off, and she's just like, like, don't forget my toes. Girl.
She is the kinkiest. I can't believe you picked this moment. Oh, that is too funny. She was done for that.
Trash.
Yeah.
No, well, movie didn't scare me. I mean, didn't think it would.
All right, well, that is going to do it for episode 2 of Bitch, I Ain't Scared. We hope that you enjoyed a lot of the topics mentioned today and our opinions on these said topics. The Fool and the Scholar will be back for another episode in another 2 weeks. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have topics in the horror genre that you'd like us to discuss on the show, definitely let us know. You can DM us on Instagram or Twitter under FearBIAS, and we'll see if we can pop any of those topics you suggested onto the show. But we have lots of ideas coming up, so look out for another episode of Bitch, I Ain't Scared.
Bye.